really a judge?
Hey, listen, if I weren't the judge...
Night Court wasn't just quirky, it was cursed. 4 actresses walked away from the same role. The star was a real magician hiding a dark past, and one cast member's salary demand nearly canceled the show before season 2. These are 20 secrets about Night Court hidden for decades. 20. Harry Anderson. Wasn't an actor, he was a con artist.
Where are you from?
Hi, Harry. Harry.
When Harry Anderson walked into the audition for Night Court, he had 0 formal acting training, no drama school, no Shakespeare, no method classes. What he had was a criminal record and a gift for deception. Anderson started his career as a street magician in San Francisco, performing shell games and card tricks on sidewalks. But his talents went darker. He ran cons, hustled tourists, and got arrested multiple times for fraud. He didn't see it as a crime. He saw it as performance art, manipulating marks with charm and sleight of hand. Eventually, Anderson cleaned up his act somewhat, channeling his skills into legitimate magic shows and comedy clubs. He appeared on Cheers as a con man named Harry the Hat, playing essentially himself. That guest spot caught the attention of Night Court creators who were searching for someone to play Judge Harry Stone, a young, unconventional judge who performed magic tricks from the bench. Anderson's audition was bizarre. He didn't read lines traditionally. He improvised, did card tricks for the casting directors, and talked his way through scenes with such natural charm they forgot he couldn't actually act. The network was skeptical, wanting a trained actor, someone reliable. But creator Reinhold Weege saw something special. A man who didn't have to pretend to be a charming trickster because he actually was one. Anderson got the role, and on January 4th, 1984, a former street hustler became a sitcom judge. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. 19. The original premise was too dark for network television. Reinhold Weege didn't pitch a lighthearted sitcom about eccentric characters. His original concept for Night Court was brutal, cynical, and uncomfortably real. The pilot script focused on the Manhattan Criminal Court's night shift, where society's most desperate, violent, and broken people cycled through a justice system that didn't care. Prostitutes, addicts, homeless, mentally ill defendants, all processed by exhausted, jaded court workers who'd lost faith in everything. The tone was closer to Hill Street Blues than a traditional sitcom. Weege wanted to show the absurdity and tragedy of urban crime, using dark comedy to expose systemic failures. He wrote scenes of defendants sleeping on benches, public defenders drowning in impossible caseloads, and a judge trying to maintain humanity in a dehumanizing system. NBC executives read the pilot and panicked. This wasn't a comedy. It was depressing social commentary disguised as entertainment. They demanded massive rewrites, insisting Weege add wacky characters, lighten the tone, and remove anything that made audiences uncomfortable. Weege resisted initially, arguing the darkness was the point, but the network held firm. Make it funny, or we won't air it. So Weege compromised, keeping the Night Court setting, but populating it with oddballs and misfits who made the darkness palatable. He added Harry's magic tricks, Bull's gentle giant persona, and increasingly absurd defendants. What aired was a shadow of his original vision, comedy hiding the tragedy he'd wanted to expose. 18. 4 different actresses played the public defender role.
Understand people, their wants, their needs, their desires.
Night Court had a curse, and it lived in the public defender's office. The show needed a female lead to balance Harry's male energy, someone smart, principled, and capable of romantic tension. They cast Karen Austin as Lana Wagner in the pilot. She was professional, talented, and absolutely miserable. Austin hated the role from day one, feeling the character was underwritten and the scripts were beneath her. She quit after 1 season. Producers scrambled, recasting with Ellen Foley as Billy Young for season 2. Foley brought energy and warmth, and fans responded positively. But behind the scenes, she clashed constantly with Reinhold Weege over character direction. She wanted Billy to be taken seriously. Weege wanted laughs. After one season, Foley left, exhausted from fighting. Season 3 brought Markie Post as Christine Sullivan, but only after another actress, Liz Williams, was briefly cast, shot promotional materials, then fired before airing a single episode for reasons the network never explained. Post finally stuck, lasting 7 seasons, but the revolving door of public defenders became legendary. Crew members joked the role was cursed. Actors whispered warnings about taking it, and fans grew frustrated watching character after character disappear without explanation. The instability nearly destroyed the show's continuity, forcing writers to pretend previous characters never existed and reset romantic storylines repeatedly. It wasn't until Markie Post that the bleeding finally stopped, but by then, the damage to the show's early seasons was done. 17. John Laroquette demanded an Emmy ban and got it.
Mr. Prosecutor!
Yes, sir. Just a moment.
John Laroquette won the Emmy for Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Comedy Series 4 years in a row, 1985, 86, 87, 88. 4 consecutive wins for playing Dan Fielding, the sleazy, sex-obsessed prosecutor. It was unprecedented. It was also, according to Laroquette, embarrassing. After his 4th win, he did something no actor had ever done. He asked the Television Academy to remove him from eligibility permanently. Not for 1 year. Forever. Laroquette told them he didn't want to compete anymore because it wasn't fair to other actors and because winning had become meaningless. The Academy was stunned. Actors campaign desperately for Emmys. They hire publicists, throw parties, and beg for votes. And here was someone begging not to win. But Laroquette was serious, even putting his request in writing. He explained that Dan Fielding wasn't a stretch and wasn't challenging him as an actor. He showed up, delivered dirty jokes, and went home. Winning 4 times made him feel like a fraud, especially when brilliant actors on other shows got nothing. The Academy reluctantly agreed, creating an unofficial Laroquette rule, where supporting actors could voluntarily withdraw from consideration. His castmates had mixed reactions. Some respected his humility, others thought he was grandstanding, making a show of rejecting an honor most actors would kill for. Harry Anderson was reportedly furious, seeing it as Laroquette's ego disguised as modesty. But Laroquette never budged, never competed again, and Night Court never won another Emmy. 16. Richard Moll's bull voice was completely fake.
Buttons for whose sleeve?
His. Hiya, gang!
Bull Shannon became one of television's most beloved characters. A towering bald bailiff with a gentle heart and a voice that sounded like a confused child in a giant's body. That distinctive high-pitched, soft delivery defined the character. And it was completely manufactured. Richard Moll's real voice is deep, resonant, and commanding. He stands 6 feet 8 inches tall with a naturally intimidating presence. When he auditioned for Night Court, he read Bull's lines in his normal voice, playing the character as slow but masculine. Reinhold Weege stopped him midway through, saying it wasn't working. He needed something unexpected, something that contrasted with Bull's massive physicality. Moll improvised, raising his pitch, softening his delivery, making Bull sound innocent and childlike. Weege loved it instantly, but maintaining that voice was torture. Moll had to speak in a register that strained his vocal cords for hours during tapings. By the end of long shooting days, his throat was raw, and he'd lost the voice entirely, reverting to his natural deep tone between takes. The cast found it hilarious, watching this giant man switch between voices like Jekyll and Hyde. But for Moll, it was exhausting. He later admitted he resented the voice, feeling it trapped him in a one-note character when he wanted to show range. Yet audiences loved Bull precisely because of that voice. And Moll was stuck performing vocal gymnastics for 9 seasons, sacrificing his natural instrument to serve a character who made everyone smile. 15. Marsha Warfield was hired to avoid another walkout.
Thank you. Good evening.
After losing 3 public defenders, producers were desperate for stability. They needed a strong female character who wouldn't quit clash or disappear. So they created Roz Russell, a tough, no-nonsense bailiff, to replace Selma Diamond, who died of lung cancer after season 2. The casting call specifically sought someone difficult to work with in real life, because Reinhold Weege believed actors who were already prickly would bring an authentic edge to the role. Marsha Warfield fit perfectly. She was a stand-up comedian known for abrasive humor and zero tolerance for nonsense. Her comedy was harsh, confrontational, and unapologetically black. She didn't soften for white audiences or play nice for casting directors. When she auditioned for Roz, she didn't smile, didn't try to charm anyone, just read the lines with deadpan irritation. Weege hired her on the spot, but Warfield brought problems nobody anticipated. She hated sitcom acting, finding it restrictive and creatively stifling. She complained constantly about scripts, rewrote her own lines, and told writers to their faces when jokes were stupid. Other cast members walked on eggshells around her. Harry Anderson tried befriending her and gave up after she shut him down. John Laroquette avoided her entirely. But Warfield didn't care about being liked. She showed up, did her job, and left. And ironically, her complete indifference to the show made her perfect for Roz, a character who also didn't care about anything. The role that was supposed to prevent walkouts became a daily battle, but Warfield never quit because she simply didn't care enough to bother leaving. 14. The show filmed at the slowest pace in sitcom history.
Incredible set designers were able to get the original plans, except we updated the paint.
State of New York is private violation 23152 of the New York Vehicle Code misdemeanor defendant did willfully and unlawfully while under the influence of alcoholic.
Most sitcoms filmed episodes in 3 to 5 hours in front of live audiences. Night Court took 8, sometimes 9 hours. Not because of technical difficulties or complex set pieces, but because Harry Anderson refused to rush. Anderson came from magic and street performing, where timing was everything, where you couldn't force laughs or skip beats. He brought that philosophy to Night Court, insisting on perfecting every joke, every reaction, every pause until it felt right. If a punchline didn't land, they'd stop, discuss what went wrong, and try again, and again, and again. Audiences sat through endless retakes, their energy draining as hours passed. By take 5 of the same scene, laughter turned to polite chuckles. By take 8, silence. Anderson didn't care. He wanted perfection, even if it killed the live audience vibe. His castmates grew frustrated. John Laroquette, a trained actor who nailed scenes quickly, would sit idle for hours waiting for Anderson to be satisfied. Markie tried staying positive, but even she admitted the pace was exhausting. Richard Moll nearly fell asleep between takes. Crew members complained about overtime costs skyrocketing. But Anderson had creative control written into his contract, and he wielded it mercilessly. The network tried intervening, setting time limits, threatening budget cuts. Anderson ignored them all. He believed Night Court's quality came from his perfectionism, and he'd rather film one great episode slowly than 3 mediocre ones quickly. The audience and cast paid the price for his vision. 13. Selma Diamond smoked herself to death during production.
Mr. Rafkin! Oh, excuse me, but... Hello?
Selma Diamond was a comedy legend before Night Court. She'd written for Sid Caesar, performed stand-up for decades, and had a voice like sandpaper soaked in whiskey. That voice came from smoking, 4 packs a day, every day, for over 40 years. When she was cast as Selma Hacker, the original sarcastic bailiff, everyone knew her health was bad. She'd cough between takes, disappear to smoke, and struggle with stamina during long filming sessions. But she refused to quit, joking that cigarettes were the only friends she had left. By season 2, her condition deteriorated visibly. She'd lost weight, moved slower, and sometimes forgot lines mid-scene. Harry Anderson begged her to see a doctor. She laughed him off. Then during a table read, Selma collapsed, lung cancer, stage 4, inoperable. She'd known for months but told no one, continuing to work through chemotherapy and radiation in secret. Producers offered to write her out, let her rest. She refused, showing up to tapings between treatments, performing until she physically couldn't anymore. On May 13, 1985, Selma Diamond died at age 64. The show mourned publicly, dedicating an episode to her memory. But privately, some cast members were angry. Angry that she'd kept her diagnosis secret. Angry that she'd risked her life for a sitcom. Angry that cigarettes had stolen someone irreplaceable. Night Court replaced her with Florence Haylop, another older comedian who also smoked heavily and died of cancer 2 years later. 2 bailiffs, same addiction, same fate. 12. Harry Anderson. Terrorized the cast with cruel pranks.
Yeah. Huh?
Harry Anderson's magic skills weren't just for the show. He used them to psychologically torture his castmates for fun. Anderson was obsessed with pranks. Not harmless jokes, but elaborate schemes designed to humiliate and unsettle people. He'd plant fake memos announcing cast firings, watching actors panic before revealing the joke. He'd rig dressing room doors with water buckets, dummy snakes, and worse. He once convinced Richard Moll that he'd been written out of the show, letting him believe it for 3 days before laughing in his face. Markie Post was a frequent target. Anderson knew she was claustrophobic, so he'd lock her in closets during breaks, ignoring her screams until someone else freed her. He thought it was hilarious. Post thought it was abuse. She complained to producers, who told Anderson to stop. He didn't. The pranks escalated. He'd swap scripts, making actors read wrong lines on camera. He'd hide props, causing scenes to fall apart. He once sabotaged John Laroquette's wardrobe, leaving him with pants that split during a live taping in front of hundreds. Laroquette stormed off set, refusing to continue until Anderson apologized. Anderson refused, claiming everyone needed to lighten up. The tension became unbearable. Cast members stopped trusting Anderson, checking everything twice, avoiding him outside of filming. What Anderson saw as fun, others experienced as workplace harassment. But because he was the star, producers protected him, and the pranks never stopped until the show finally ended. 11. The show's budget was spent on Harry Anderson's magic props.
Harry Anderson's color-changing fanning deck. This deck has 8 changes.
Every episode of Night Court featured Judge Harry Stone performing magic tricks. Card manipulations, disappearing acts, illusions with doves and scarves. These weren't cheap gags pulled from party stores. They were professional-grade illusions requiring expensive props, custom equipment, and constant maintenance. And every dollar came from the show's budget. Money that could have gone to better scripts, improved sets, or higher actor salaries. Harry Anderson demanded creative control over his magic sequences, insisting on authenticity. If a trick required a $1,000 collapsible table, they bought it. If an illusion needed trained doves, they hired a handler. Anderson's dressing room became a warehouse of magic equipment. Trick decks, flash paper, linking rings, elaborate boxes. The costs ballooned. By season 3, producers realized Anderson's magic hobby was eating 15 to 20% of each episode's budget. They tried cutting back, limiting tricks to 1 per episode. Anderson threatened to quit, arguing the magic defined his character. The network caved, giving him more money while slashing budgets elsewhere. Writers worked with fewer script revisions. Guest stars were paid less. Sets weren't updated. Also, Harry Anderson could perform card tricks nobody asked for. Cast members resented the priority. Markie Post later said it was insulting watching Anderson get unlimited resources for magic while actors fought for basic necessities. But Anderson didn't care. He saw Night Court as his platform to showcase magic, and if that meant the show suffered elsewhere, that was everyone else's problem. 10. John Laroquette's salary demand. Nearly canceled the show.
Spend the night with Art of Nazareth.
Sir.
Admit it, the old Enterprise was a piece of junk.
After winning his 4th Emmy, John Laroquette decided he deserved more money. A lot more. Going into contract negotiations for season 6, he demanded triple his current salary, arguing Dan Fielding had become the show's breakout character, and he should be compensated accordingly. The network refused, offering a modest increase instead. Laroquette walked away from the negotiating table, publicly announcing he might not return. NBC panicked. Without Dan Fielding, Night Court would collapse. Test audiences consistently rated him as their favorite character. and his sleazy one-liners drove merchandise sales. But paying Laroquette's demand would destroy the budget and set a precedent for other cast members to make similar demands. The standoff lasted months. Scripts for season 6 sat unwritten because nobody knew if Laroquette would be in them. Harry Anderson tried mediating, then gave up when Laroquette accused him of signing with the network. Markie Post stayed silent, secretly hoping Laroquette's absence would give her character more screen time. Finally, with production delayed and cancellation looming, NBC offered a compromise. They had double Laroquette's salary, but cut the season order from 24 episodes to 22, saving money through fewer episodes. Laroquette accepted, returning as Dan Fielding, but poisoning relationships with everyone involved. Cast members resented him for prioritizing money over the show. Producers never trusted him again. And the network learned that even Emmy winners could be replaced if they pushed too hard. 9. Markie Post was sexually harassed by guest stars. Weekly.
Is that so?
Yes, I'm much more impressed with what's inside.
Markie Post joined Night Court as Christine Sullivan in season 3, bringing warmth and comedic timing that finally stabilized the cursed public defender role. But her beauty made her a target. Almost every week, guest stars would hit on her inappropriately, make sexual comments, or touch her without permission during rehearsals. Post tried handling it professionally, laughing off advances and creating physical distance. But some guests were relentless. One recurring actor cornered her in her dressing room, refusing to leave until she agreed to dinner. Another guest star grabbed her during a scene in ways not scripted or rehearsed. Post complained to producers, expecting them to protect her. Instead, they told her not to make waves, arguing guest stars were hard to book, and replacing them mid-production was expensive. So, Post developed survival strategies. She'd bring her husband to set on days when particularly aggressive guests were scheduled. She'd never be alone in hallways or dressing rooms. She'd position herself near crew members during breaks. Harry Anderson noticed and tried intervening, using his star power to warn guest stars to behave. It helped sometimes, but not always. John Laroquette, ironically playing a character who sexually harassed women for laughs, never defended Post in real life, later admitting he thought she was overreacting. The harassment continued for all 7 seasons. Post was on the show, an open secret everyone knew about, but nobody stopped because protecting the production mattered more than protecting the actress. 8. Richard Moll hated playing Bull Shannon.
Where his undead body gets blown to bits.
Actually, I don't. I was just making small talk.
Richard Moll was a classically trained actor with a degree from Berkeley and years of serious theater experience. He'd played villains in dramas, performed Shakespeare, and built a career on intensity and intelligence. Then Night Court made him famous as Bull Shannon, a lovable idiot, and he despised it. Moll later admitted he took the role purely for money, never imagining it would define his career. He thought Night Court would last 1 season, maybe 2, then he'd return to serious acting. Instead, it ran 9 years, and Bull became the only character casting directors saw when they looked at him. Moll tried breaking free. Between seasons, he auditioned for dramatic roles, action films, anything that wasn't comedy. Casting directors would laugh, saying they couldn't take him seriously after Bull. He'd audition for villains, his specialty, and directors would ask him to make the character funny. The typecasting was suffocating. On set, Moll was professional but miserable. He'd deliver Bull's childlike lines while dying inside, counting down episodes until his contract ended. He bonded with John Laroquette over their shared frustration, both feeling trapped in roles beneath their abilities. When Night Court finally ended in 1992, Moll expected career freedom. Instead, he discovered Bull had destroyed his credibility as a serious actor. For decades afterward, he'd get offered gentle giant roles, comedy relief parts, nothing with depth. Night Court made him wealthy and famous, but it killed the career he actually wanted. 7. The show's writers were fired. Every season.
Admit it, the old Enterprise was a piece of junk.
Night Court had the highest writer turnover rate in sitcom history. Every single season, at least half the writing staff was fired or quit. It wasn't creative differences or network interference. It was Reinhold Weege's tyranny. Weege created the Night Court and ruled it like a dictator. He'd tear apart scripts in writers' rooms, screaming that jokes were garbage. He'd rewrite entire episodes overnight, erasing writers' work without credit. He'd publicly humiliate staff members for pitching ideas he didn't like. Writers would last a few months before breaking down or walking out. The turnover created chaos. New writers would arrive mid-season with no understanding of character voices or ongoing storylines. They'd write episodes that contradicted previous ones, forcing editors to patch together continuity. Some of the show's worst episodes came from desperate writers cranking out scripts just to survive Weege's abuse. Actors noticed the instability. Harry Anderson would get scripts where his character acted completely differently from the previous week. Markie Post would read dialogue that Christine would never say. They'd try offering feedback, but Weege refused notes from actors, believing only he understood the show. By season 7, Weege's behavior became legendary in Hollywood. Young writers were warned never to work for him. Experienced writers demanded premium salaries to endure his abuse. The show survived despite Weege, not because of him, powered by cast chemistry and audience loyalty rather than consistent writing. When Night Court finally ended, dozens of former writers celebrated, happy to never work with Weege again. Harry Anderson developed a serious gambling addiction.
So they're all here? All right.
You're not a judge anymore.
That's right.
The con artist who became a sitcom star never stopped hustling. Harry Anderson's magic performances on Night Court were funded by secret gambling winnings, money he'd earned playing poker in underground clubs across Los Angeles. Anderson wasn't a casual player. He was obsessed, spending every non-filming hour at card tables, using his sleight of hand skills to read opponents and manipulate games. For years, he won more than he lost, supplementing his already substantial salary with gambling income. But by season 6, the wins stopped coming. Anderson started losing badly. He'd drop thousands in single nights, then returned to sets exhausted and distracted. His gambling debts grew enormous. Loan sharks started calling. Anderson borrowed from friends, from producers, from anyone who'd lend him money, promising to pay back with his next big win. It never came. Cast members noticed changes. Anderson became paranoid, jumpy, looking over his shoulder constantly. His trademark pranks stopped, replaced by angry outbursts when scenes didn't go perfectly. Markie Post later said she'd find him alone between takes, staring at nothing, clearly somewhere else mentally. Producers tried intervening when they learned about the gambling, offering to connect Anderson with counselors. He laughed them off, insisting he had everything under control. He didn't. By Night Court's final season, Anderson owed hundreds of thousands to dangerous people. The show ending actually saved him, forcing him to leave Los Angeles, move to New Orleans, and escape his gambling creditors. But the addiction never truly left. 5. The cast. Knew the show was trash and made peace with it.
Indecent exposure.
Invading people's privacy, that's what's indecent.
Long time, you know? I don't know, it seems everybody knows. Do you know?
By season 5, everyone involved with Night Court understood what they were making. Mediocre television that audiences watched out of habit, not quality. The scripts were formulaic. The jokes were recycled. The storylines were absurd to the point of insulting viewer intelligence. But the checks cleared, and nobody cared enough to fight for better. In interviews, cast members would diplomatically praise the show, while privately admitting it was garbage. John Laroquette told friends he was cashing checks and phoning it in. Markie Post said she stopped reading full scripts, just her scenes, because the overall episodes were too painful. Richard Moll openly mocked the show at parties, doing dramatic readings of Bull's dumbest lines to make people laugh at how stupid they were. Even Harry Anderson, who had creative control, admitted Night Court was cotton candy, sweet, fluffy, and nutritionally empty. The realization freed them. Once they accepted they weren't making art, just content, the pressure disappeared. They'd show up, hit their marks, deliver punchlines, and go home. No emotional investment, no creative passion, just professional obligation. Audiences never knew because the cast were skilled enough to fake enthusiasm, but anyone paying attention could see the emptiness in their eyes. the mechanical delivery of jokes they'd performed 100 times before. Night Court wasn't a labor of love, it was a job, and everyone treated it exactly that way, counting down seasons until their contracts expired and they could finally escape. 4. And Reinhold Weege was fired from his own show.
Oh, you're not the type to go out and spend it on a Barry Manilow album.
Hey!
It takes spectacular failure for a network to fire a show's creator, but Reinhold Weege managed it. By season 8, his behavior had become intolerable even by Hollywood standards. He'd show up to work drunk, screaming at staff over minor issues. He'd disappear for days, leaving production scrambling to write episodes without him. His scripts grew increasingly bizarre, featuring storylines that made no sense and characters acting out of character. The final straw came during a table read, when Weege physically threw a script at a writer who'd questioned a joke, then stormed out, leaving the cast sitting in awkward silence. NBC executives had tolerated Weege's abuse for years because Night Court made money. But now ratings were declining, production costs were rising due to his mismanagement, and insurance companies were threatening to pull coverage because of workplace complaints. They made a calculation. Night Court could survive without Weege, but Weege was destroying Night Court. In a secret meeting, they fired him, paying out his contract but banning him from the set. Weege learned he'd been removed from his own show when security stopped him at the studio gate. He tried fighting back, hiring lawyers and threatening to sue. NBC didn't care. They installed new showrunners, finished season 8 without him, and greenlit season 9 under new management. Weege never worked in television again. He'd created a hit show, won awards, and burned every bridge so thoroughly that nobody would touch him. Night Court outlived its creator, limping through its final season as a zombie show. 3. The finale was rewritten. 3 times, because nobody cared.
Certainly. First left, take the corridor, and then follow the yellow brick road.
Bill, of course, was the director, and it was a very, very fine experience.
When Night Court approached its final episode in May 1992, producers faced an unusual problem. Nobody cared how it ended. Not the cast, not the writers, not even the network. The show had been on life support for years, coasting on fumes and habit. The first finale script was a straightforward conclusion. Harry marries his longtime girlfriend, Dan settles down, Christine moves away. It was boring, producers hated it, so they ordered a rewrite. The second version went absurd. Aliens invade the courtroom, revealing the entire series was a dream. It was too stupid, even for Night Court. The third attempt brought sentimentality, emotional goodbyes, nostalgia, characters reflecting on their journeys. Test audiences found it manipulative and false. With filming days away, producers gave up and combined elements from all 3 scripts, creating a Frankenstein finale that satisfied nobody. The episode aired to decent ratings, but zero cultural impact. No thick pieces, no water cooler conversations, no memorable moments. Night Court just ended, and America shrugged. Cast members scattered immediately. No rap party, no emotional farewells. Just relief, it was finally over. Harry Anderson later admitted he didn't watch the finale, and didn't care enough to see how it ended. Markie Post said she forgot the finale existed until journalists asked about it years later. Night Court had been a hit, running 9 seasons and launching careers. But by the end, everyone involved was so exhausted, so burned out, that they couldn't muster the energy to care about giving it a proper goodbye. 2. Harry Anderson's magic career died. Because of Night Court.
Does it look good? Does it look real? Does it look better from this side?
Before Night Court, Harry Anderson was a respected magician, performing in clubs and theaters, building a reputation as a serious practitioner of sleight of hand and mentalism. Then television made him famous as Judge Harry Stone, and his magic career imploded. Audiences couldn't separate Anderson from his sitcom character. When he'd perform in clubs, people expected comedy, not serious magic. They'd heckle, asking for catchphrases or sitcom references. Anderson tried explaining he was a real magician, not just an actor playing one. Nobody listened. Magic bookers stopped hiring him, saying his television fame made him too broad for intimate venues. He was overqualified for birthday parties, but wrong for serious magic shows. Anderson tried launching a post-Night Court magic tour, performing in theaters across America. It failed miserably. Audiences came expecting a comedy show, then left disappointed when Anderson performed actual magic without jokes. Reviews were brutal, saying he took himself too seriously and should stick to television. The rejection devastated Anderson. He'd tolerated sitcom work to fund his real passion, magic. But Night Court destroyed the very thing he'd sacrificed for. By the late 90s, Anderson stopped performing magic publicly, retreating to his New Orleans home where he'd practice alone, performing for nobody. He ran a magic shop, teaching tricks to amateurs while his own performing career stayed dead. Night Court made him rich and famous, but it killed his artistic soul, trapping him in a sitcom character that overshadowed everything else he'd ever done or wanted to be. 1. The show's legacy is a lie.
People. Being back on Night Court, seeing the new fresh faces of these very
television historians call Night Court groundbreaking, influential, a comedy classic that redefined sitcoms. That's revisionist history. When it aired, critics savaged it. Awards ignored it after the early years. Audiences watched it the way people eat fast food. Convenient, forgettable, mildly satisfying, but ultimately empty. The show won early Emmys for John Laroquette because nothing else in the category was competitive. Not because Night Court was exceptional. It ran 9 seasons not because of quality, but because NBC's primetime lineup was weak and Night Court was cheap to produce. The influence people claim is fabricated. What sitcom copied Night Court's format? 5. What shows cited it as inspiration? Name 3 cultural moments it created beyond John Laroquette's Emmy streak. The truth. Night Court was moderately successful filler programming that's been mythologized by nostalgia. People remember it fondly because they watched it as kids when everything seemed better. But rewatch episodes today, and the cracks show. Dated jokes, repetitive plots, lazy writing. The cast knows this. In rare, honest moments, they'll admit Night Court wasn't special, just lucky timing and decent enough to survive. Harry Anderson died in 2018, and obituaries called Night Court his legacy. But people who knew him said he hated that. Wanted to be remembered for magic, not a sitcom he did for money. Night Court didn't change television. It filled airtime between shows that actually mattered, and the only thing groundbreaking about it was convincing people decades later that it was ever important. One yet, Night Court looked like magic, but ran on dysfunction, ego, and survival. 9 seasons of laughter hit addiction, harassment, and talented people trapped in mediocrity. If these secrets cut deep, hit that like button, subscribe, and drop which revelation shocked you most in the comments. Because in the end, the real verdict is this: some shows aren't remembered because they were great, just because they refused to die.